Hi, friends. I wish we were meeting on a happier way today. Today, I wanted to talk about the shooting that happened yesterday on June 1st in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in a hospital that ended up killing four people. I wanted to hear, like, just kind of have a conversation. You know, when you're in the hospital and things happen and they're horrible, like you have a code or something like that, and you just want to like talk about it after. I thought that we could just kind of have it be that. We'll briefly talk about what happened, uh, and then kind of like just debrief. You know how we have those? Because I think sometimes it's helpful to just do that when you have no idea where else to put your anxiety and stress, right? Because this is a difficult situation. I know a lot of you are in the healthcare community, so you can imagine it happening to you. Maybe it has happened to you before. This is actually something that I have dealt with many times as a nurse, having an active shooter in the hospital, as well as in private practice. But that one might be a different story time because that one was just absolutely terrifying and still is a huge thing in the back of my mind of why I'm like, I don't know if I ever need to go back and work in the hospital again. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that today we can kind of go over the situation and just debrief. If you have any stories or anything you'd like to say on this, we'll talk about what it's been like when I've been in active shooter situations in the hospital, kind of what my training has been, what they kind of tell you. I don't know if the public really knows that, like, who is usually the targets in these situations and how we don't necessarily, it's like who you're supposed to save, which is, I think I've heard in some places they're like telling nurses to try to save people. I've also worked in places where they're just like kind of save you. So the goal is to chat about that and then talk about obviously this horrible tragedy that happened here. Hello, Sophia. Thank you for being a friend of the channel. Who said Kate? Hello, hello. All right, so let's dive in and take a peek at what is happening in case you are not aware. Warning that if you are not in the mood to kind of, this is going to be a hard one. We're talking about people losing their life, having violence in the workplace. So if that one is not for you, we'll move on. No shame here. I have many other videos that are a lot happier. Go watch something about cats or something. I don't know. What videos do you guys watch when you need to like cheer up? I usually will go, I don't know. I was going to say, I just go watch true crime, which is really not, I'm realizing, cheering up at all, but that's what I usually watch. All right, let's take a look at what we have going on here. Also, I'm going to change around some of the wordings that we might use because the YouTube gods do not like it when you say certain words. And so we'll try to avoid that. As much as possible. So we had yesterday, someone went into a hospital in Tulsa. It was St. Francis, I believe, is what the name of it was. They went in, they went to, and I will just say, I don't have like all the details. I'm not an expert on this. With these, I'm kind of trying to like explore them as they happen almost with you guys so we can kind of go through it together. I do know some stuff. Went in, oh my gosh, sorry, that was probably really loud. And entered the building, from my understanding, went up to the second floor where there was an orthopedic clinic. So an outpatient orthopedic office. So someone that works on bones, went in and shot and ended the life of a physician, a nurse practitioner, and two nurses. Then when the police came in, I heard that the police were on the scene within 3 minutes, I want to say. And as soon as the person who had done all of this realized that they were there, they went back and they ended their own life. This is very, very typical in my experience of what you will see when someone comes into a building planning on catching or like causing harm to other people. Most of the time when someone goes into a healthcare building, they are not going to go in and harm patients. They're going in to harm someone that they feel wronged them, or if their family member had passed away, or some kind of retribution, like they're trying to get retribution for something. So I do not know what this person was going in. It would make sense to the narrative in my mind of if he had either maybe not gotten pain meds. I have had someone, I have had to call the police in private practice because I would not give someone pain meds, and they came back to my office with a gun. And because I wouldn't give them pain meds. And it ended okay. Obviously, I had already called the police. They were already there. But most of the stories you'll see in the news about healthcare shootings are this. It's the staff, which makes it sit and settle in an even more unnerving way. And we'll kind of talk about different scenarios here in a few, and you guys can kind of talk about yours. And like I said, it can just kind of be a debrief because this is hard because we don't know where to put the emotions, right? Because now you're like, well, this could literally happen to any of us, right? It kind of sits there and feels like that. So we'll also go over what, how to sort of protect yourself. If there's any way to protect yourself, it's hard because you also might not be able to. So this happened at like 4:52 p.m. um, it says they haven't revealed the identity of the gunman. We're also never going to talk about that. I don't know if this wasn't an individual who decided he wanted to go to a hospital full of random people. He deliberately made a choice to come here, and his actions were deliberate. So that kind of goes in line with what most hospital violence situations are as well. There's an orthopedic center and an orthopedic office, but I was unaware if that floor, if the whole floor, if there's anything else. We now know it was an orthopedic physician. Um, Captain Mullenberg said that the number of people wounded from being shot seemed to be very low, but there were other injuries tied to hundreds of people fleeing the building at the time of the attack. Imagine a scene of mass chaos. You can hear the gunfire echoing. And they would have also called over the loud system some kind of for um, a code for it, like we called it code silver at the hospital I was at, because and that was our active shooter, or someone is in the building with a weapon and they have not been contained yet. um, and so I would imagine everyone would. I have never been in the lobby when that's happened, up on the floors when we had an active shooter, because I have been in several instances of when you were in the hospital and they had a code silver and active shooter in the building. And up on the floors, we would go around and close all of the doors of the patient's rooms. Again, you're doing that more, at least what they told us. And we didn't really get a lot of training on this, honestly. It was a lot of like on the fly, but we went around, we treated it almost like a fire, closed all the patient's doors. And then we were told that as nurses, we could try to hide in a few various locations. This was actually my unit, and I drew this because this is where, when I was a nurse, they told us that we should go. So this is a single bed hospital room. If it was a double, it would just have an extended bed up next to the other bed. You see like the bathroom kind of right when you walk in here to the left. And so they literally, I remember being told in orientation to my unit that if there was a active shooter, the person was probably coming in for me and not my patient. So we could hide over here. This is a shelf that has the two green bins. Those are like the hamper and the trash. And you could hide under this like table shelf thing. You could try to climb up into the closets that were on the two sides of the bed, or your best option was to try to barricade yourself in the bathroom and hide kind of behind the wall in the toilet, because it would be least likely that if they were just shooting into the bathroom that they would be able to get into that angle. And I remember thinking that that was insane when they told us that, and I was like, I would never need to know that. Like, why would I ever need to know that? And then I had to know it and have sat in several times a bathroom, crouched down on the floor, hiding in a patient's room. Other people would hide in the med room. They had all sorts of different, some people would hide in like uh, if you could get to a utility room, people recommended that because it's behind like a locked door. But I'm curious if your hospitals recommend you protecting patients first or yourself first. I think ours told us that we should try to secure our patients, but then it was like, if I'm in a room, right, and I have five patients, who am I supposed to go and protect first? In peds it was easier. We never actually we had several threats, but in peds we had so many different barriers to actually entering the building. Like there were guards everywhere. And in adult land, you could just walk right up. There was no like unit clerk to stop people. So all of the ones that were like much scarier for me were in my adult hospital. Um, but you couldn't protect five people at one time. I mean, if it was a children's hospital, you could kind of just gather them all and like go into a bathroom together because they're smaller if they were not bed bound. But in adults, how would you pick? You know what I mean? How would you pick what person you're going to go into the thing with? And I remember in one instance, I actually went in and I hid in a bathroom, like against that wall. And um, my patient, I said, like, I had gone in and I had said, it was like a more lucid patient. And I said, um, what, like I had told her like, oh, this is what this is, because she was like young enough to actually get it. And then she actually, like, I tried to barricade myself in the bathroom because they were on the floor below us. And she actually sat in front of the door. Um, which makes me emotional. She sat in front of the door because she said like, oh, they don't want to shoot me, so like they won't go through me to get to you. And I was like, goodness. Miss Hassan said, what's the point of closing the patient doors? There's no locks, wasting time. It was to take longer. That was the whole point. That we closed doors because and we would shove stuff in front of them. So even if it was just a hamper in front of behind the patient door, they still had to use a lot more force in order to get through. But again, you only could pick one room to do that in, right? Because if you shoved stuff against the door to try to protect yourself and your patient, you were only picking one patient, or maybe two if you were in a double. But how would that really work? So that was the situation. It sounded like it was an outpatient clinic, I believe, from what we were looking at in this situation. I think, oh, there we go. Did that make I saw somebody say they wanted the chat bigger. There we go. The police were notified right away. It sounds like they went in really, really quickly. The guy, I think, had like a bomb at his house or something that I read. He praised the board. They did have a really quick response, it looks like. And it's just, I don't know. This sums it up quite well. It was a senseless act of violence and hatred. And I think just really goes to show, uh, you know, it's just totally going to show that this is a huge problem. A huge, huge, huge problem. Miss Hassan, but you're wasting time closing the other doors. The goal of closing the other doors was so that they wouldn't know what room you were in. Because if you went up on a unit and there were only a couple nurses, like all the nurses are hiding, right? You don't want them to know what room you are hiding in, was what we were told, which makes sense because then they're going to have to go down the line and go to like literally every single one. And it's just going to take them more time. And at least in our hospital, the doors were fireproof, supposedly, or no, maybe they weren't. Maybe just the end doors were. I don't even remember. For some reason, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna we'll close all the doors to try to give this illusion that things are a little bit okay. So, that's kind of like what it was like at mine. Miss Hassan said the med room. Yes, our med room was horrible for this. So none of us would go hide in the med room. It kind of depends on how yours is laid out because our med room had huge windows. So you could see into it. You could easily shoot it open. And same with our clean room. It was like a galley type of thing. So it had doors on both ends and then windows looking in. So those were the only locked places for us to hide where you had to have a key code to actually get in. And of course, those were the ones that didn't work. In this setting, I think they were in an office, is what it sounds like. And so there would be absolutely none of that in place. Going forward. So one of the things I was going to ask and like talk about with you is I was always taught, try to protect your patients, but in reality, when this happens, most of the time it is you're just going to try to go and hide. Like, I'm not even going to lie. You always, I think in your mind, you're like, I'm going to be the bigger person and I am going to go and try to protect people. But in your mind, when it actually happens, maybe I'm alone here, but I think most people, me, like at least what I did is I was like, I need to hide. Like, I'm not dying for this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not standing in the line of this. So I don't know what the solution there is like either metal detectors or at least having, guards, like different safe stops. Like I said, at the children's hospital that I was at, you went to the front desk, you had to get verified before you could even go upstairs. And then once you got upstairs, immediately upon getting off the stairs or the elevator, there was another desk. And then once you got into the unit, there was another desk. So it was like, you would have to really, really bypass things. And then they had a button that you could hit that would immediately lock the doors. So if someone got up the elevator or like ran past the security desk at the bottom, so like say someone ran into the hospital and tried to bypass the door, the person at the bottom, they could hit a button and it would lock the elevators, lock all of the doors of all of the units going out, and it would lock um, the stairwells so that literally wherever the person was, like they couldn't get out. And that's actually what they used for code pink drills too, which is when there was a child missing. But like, why don't we do that everywhere? Not that like it would save necessarily things from this situation, but it would save situations like the many I was in where there was just someone wandering around the hospital looking for a certain someone with a weapon, and yikes. Cordy said, yeah, that's a good idea. Safe stops in the hospital. Corinne said, I worked in Detroit at 11-1 surgical trauma ICU. We got gunshot wounds patients all the time. It was an open unit. Main entrance had no security or medicals. Detectors, I never felt safe there. That is horrifying. Corinne, I went to orientation with someone who had worked at a Detroit level 1 hospital. I wonder if it was the same one. And she brought a gun with her to orientation. Like she was carrying a gun because she's like, I always carry this at work because I'm terrified I'm going to get hurt. So I wonder if it was the same hospital because that person felt the need to protect themselves. Let me see, mama nurse, hi mama nurse. Yep, in trauma we also had a locked unit. See, that's nice. That's what we should have had. Let me see, so what would you guys do? Would you guys protect? Maybe we'll do a poll. Hang on, I'm going to do a poll because no one probably wants to answer in the chat if they would protect themselves versus someone else. Hang on, I have to log into YouTube on a different screen. But we'll do a poll and we'll see, would you protect yourself or would you try to protect your patients? This is there's my stream. Oh, I'm having an inception moment because I can hear myself. Would you protect yourself or try to protect your patients? Self. Patients. I'm going to vote. Can I vote in my own poll? Let's ask. Oh man, I can't vote in my own poll. Bummer. Well, I would vote. And if I could vote, I would vote for me. Let me see. Oh, thank you so much, Chantal, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Administration wanted to let an armed, angry visitor come back after being arrested with a safety plan. We were stunned. See, that is highly, highly inappropriate. We had many people, Cordy, you can totally vote, even if you're not a nurse. That's totally fine. And this plays into the whole, like, I just think it's weird that society thinks nurses and like teachers should just like lay down like little sacrifices for when things like this happen. It astounds me. I'm like, I don't ever want to go to work and have to worry about like, am I going to die? Like, because I have to stand in front of a gun shooting someone. Like, I'm not in the military. I'm literally a nurse. So I don't understand why people think that. But that is insane, Chantal. And I am so sorry. I would be stunned as well. Ours were, if you got kicked out, you're not coming back. And as soon as you hit those doors again, but again, this is in the lockdown hospital. How would they keep you out if you don't have a safety plan? But yes, this is ideal. And you always, 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 I'm going to try to include some learning points because I don't want to just make this doom and gloom. Even though it's a heavy topic and we're not going to distract from that. It is always a good idea if you ever have a weird vibe about someone or they're starting to talk really, really, where they're threatening, they're saying weird things, let someone know. I have had more than one patient where you just feel weird and then you like just call security and just let them know, even if the parent is just, or the patient's family or the patient themselves are just starting to get disgruntled. In peds, we saw it all the time. Obviously, it's a very highly charged situation. And very terrible things happen in hospitals, very, very sad things. And so I understand where the emotions come from, but it's never okay to obviously cause violence. But calling security early and just letting them know about the situation. We would do that all the time, especially in peds, and be like, hey, we have this situation. The parent is very, very angry. I'm just going to give you the background now and put it on your radar so that if I call you and say our code word or whatever it is, which I won't say on here, please come soon. And you know the situation, you know who we're talking about, and they can go. Let me see. Um, that's just a freaking hot mess. Miss Letty, are medical staff allowed to carry their own guns? No, you're um, not technically, but I mean, this person did all the time. She said almost all the nurses, she had worked in the emergency department. She said essentially most of the nurses carried something because they felt like they needed to protect themselves. But mama nurse is right. Typically, hospitals have a no guns or weapons rule. But, you know, if you're worried you're going to die at work, but it does seem like that would be easy to have them turn it around on you. So that doesn't seem like a good idea. Jeremy Castillo from the beginning, I wanted to say hi. Another friend of the channel. If you want to become a member, you can down in the links below. I have all sorts of other ranty videos that are in no way educational, just my feelings. And you get to watch those. And we have like members only live streams. That's down below. But hi, Jeremy. Thanks for being a friend of the channel. But yeah, that is kind of what we have here. Mowing the lawn. I love your name. Mowing the lawn naked. We want cops to lay down and sacrifice. Most people feel nurses should too. Look at Texas. Those cops are in hot water. They are. That with that, again, it's just been a terrible, terrible week. I think cops are put into situations. I think it really all comes down to situations where we're having people do the wrong job. Not the wrong job, but like we're asking people to do things that are way outside of, we ask cops to be emergency mental health service providers, social workers, protect people. Like this needs to be done by different people. And we shouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like, uh, teachers shouldn't be security, nurses shouldn't be security, you know what I mean? Like nurses also are being asked to be so many different things, social workers, care coordinators that are outside the scope of anything. Exactly, Alicia. Anti-terrorism is beyond my scope of practice. And like that is when I start to think like, the system is overtaxed. And that's when we run into a whole sort of situation. Scott, do we need a moderator? I think we do have one. Let me take care of the situation real quick. There we go. But yes, they're probably being more. If anyone wants to be a moderator or a mod in general, also let me know and I can add you to the list. I do need more so that I don't only rely on my sister every single time. So send me a message if you want to be a mod or put your name in here and we can add you to the list as long as we've known each other for a tiny bit. Chantal, oh, thanks for another super chat. Rationale was patient had a right to have him there. Yeah, that's you lose your rights. You lose your privileges. You lose your privileges, my friends, if you're threatening violence and they come back in that's a no-go. I think it was pretty much you were banned forever. And it was really hard when it was the parents that were banned forever, but they would ban the parents forever or until they went through some kind of a corrective action, like with mental health services and they deemed them like no longer a threat or something. But yeah, but the whole thing's a mess. I have a whole video where I talk about like violence in nursing and it is you can watch it down below, but it is rough. Always stand up for yourself. Let's go see what our poll said. Stand up for yourself. Do not put yourself in situations that can be sketchy or anything where, always stay with your back to the door so that you have an escape route. Bring a buddy if you have any nervous feelings at all. Yeah, mama nurse. Okay, good. Rachel's my sister. Can you write down Nurse Corky and mama nurse, and then we will give them write down their usernames, and then we'll add them on the back end as mods. Thanks, friends. Nurse Scott, let me know if you want to be a mod. I'm volunteering you because you're in a lot of my chats. Let me see. Oh, hi, nursing student. Thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Do you think that the media giving out names of the shooter contributes to mass shootings? I think in some situations, yes. I think in this situation, it was someone who was really, really angry and they wanted to take it out on someone and make someone else hurt as much as they felt like they were hurting. They ended up, it sounded like they never had a plan to leave that hospital. So I think in this situation, I mean, how can we know? I think in this situation, though, it was something where you they were just trying to inflict as much pain and hurt as they personally felt. Um, Qwerty says, I may not be a mod, but I'll keep reporting anything I see. Um, on harassment or trolling. Cordy, I might add you as if you want to, I'll just add you. And what that means is whenever you are on a chat, you can boot people. It's a lot of power. I'm a mod on one channel, and I just feel very powerful, probably even more powerful than having my own channel. I'm like, wow, I get to decide what happens here. Alicia said having level 4 body armor would be nice for high danger areas, maybe bed boards made of the same material as insert plates. Oh, that's actually a really good idea, to put something where you could kind of hold it up as a shield or you could put it against a door. Why don't we have that? That would be such a good idea. Oh, Kathleen said, I didn't think he would do that. I think this was different in response to a different chat. What if the patient that attacks the nurse, it's the patient that attacks the nurse? That happens a lot. You can call that's when your hospital will almost always have a code word that you can call out, that is that you can easily blend into a sentence. That way you can, if you sense that something is becoming unsafe. So let us say that maybe your hospital's code word, I'm making this up because you're not supposed to say what the code word is so people become aware, like a pink pad. So a blue pad is usually something you put under the patient. But if you were worried about a situation and your hospital's code word was pink pad, you could reach your head out the window. The patient doesn't know that there's no such thing as a pink pad. And you could just be like, hey, I need a pink pad in here real quick whenever you get a second. And then you could add whatever, just help clean things up, or like to help like clean up this person's arm, or whatever you need to say to make it sound. You always want to try to blend it into conversation so the person's not necessarily aware. And that will get security in most places up to the place before it becomes a situation where something is super duper duper unsafe. You know what I mean? um Let me see. I'm going to scroll up and see if there's anything else, but that's pretty much my thoughts on that. It's a very, very sad situation. I can't imagine, you know what I mean? It's hard to imagine going into work and then having something like that happen. Um, I guess I can briefly talk about like the situation that I was in primary care, and then maybe we'll have a whole nother like story time about it. It's something that's still like I said, it's really keeping me almost from like wanting to, there's a lot of things that kind of make me not want to go back to primary care. Um, but one of them is when I was a nurse practitioner in a small private practice, I had a patient that I refused to give pain medicine to, um, because they had been found to be essentially getting a lot of different, usually when someone has a controlled substance for pain, because I think the pain situation is hard because obviously people are in a lot of pain and we do a pretty bad job of managing pain, in terms of like insurance won't cover physical therapy or other things that will help. So I tend to be more lenient and try to just get people comfortable so that they can do the other things to support it. But this person ended up taking a huge advantage of that. And you set up pain contracts where you say, hey, if anyone else is going to prescribe you right for you to have a controlled substance, I need to know about it because I want to make sure that you're not like getting stuff from all over the place, right? So I had a situation like that, and the patient ended up, when I ran, you can run their checks to run like where else are they getting controlled medicine. So when he came in for a refill, I had run it and he was getting it from a lot of different places. So I confronted him about it. And I said, hey, I notice I won't be able to refill this for you today because I notice that you've also gotten all of these prescriptions from like a bunch of different offices. And that goes against our pain contract. So like we had talked about in the beginning, if I ever find that, like I am no longer going to be prescribing that for you. and he became irate. He got up, he started screaming at me. Um, I quickly got up and like backed out of the office so that I was in the hallway so that he wasn't um we weren't in the same room together. And then I told him he had to leave because his actions were not being appropriate, and that if he and then he just kept yelling. And then I said I would call the police, which we did. And he said that he was going to come back with a gun and make us all regret this choice. And so we obviously called the police, told them about that. And then he went home. I'm assuming, came back and was in the parking lot, but I had called the police. And they had sent someone actually to his house, as well as they left someone who literally just sat in our lobby, which I was very grateful for. And as soon as his car pulled back in, we were like, that's the one. So I don't know what happened to that person. He was obviously discharged from the practice. But this is this happens, and I think we need to talk about it more so that people know about it more, because it is terrifying, and I wish I had more solutions. I really try to have more solutions in these, um, other than really, I never want this to be a place of just like, oh, I'm going to scare you. It's just more of like, I want you to know so that you know what kind of like what you're getting into, and so that you're aware of it. Because I honestly probably wouldn't have been, if I had been a younger provider and had never worked in a unit where we did have a lot of violence. So I was used to seeing the signs of people escalating and know like, oh, like people are crazy. Uh, that could go that way. So just be very, very in tune with what your emotions are. If you feel like a situation is yucky and not going to be helpful, just back away from it. Never, like, always call, always call security early, call the police early if you are outpatient. And yeah, because yeah, it was really, it like really shook me for a long time. Glad to be doing telehealth now. Don't miss the face-to-face verbal assaults. Yeah, and there's so much of that. Um, there's so much of that. Also, Kathleen, you accidentally got put in timeout. Sorry. Um, I don't know what you said, but if you can't chat for a minute, the chat scrolled up and you got put in timeout on accident. So you didn't do anything wrong. You're in an accidental punishment. Let me see. So that is my situation with it. And yeah, it's a whole mess. Look for the signs really, really early. Ugh. Catherine, we can always just start training nurses and LNAs to carry, and there should be definitely only be one door into and out of a building. My angry inner mom is coming out. Don't apologize. That's why we're doing this, is kind of just as a way to chat and like debrief from it. Cause like I said, I have so much anger and it doesn't have a place to go. So it came onto the internet. But I think a lot of people, like you, like your inner angry mom comes out and you're like, what are we doing here? Like, we just need so much. We need so many things. One, we need to be able to treat people better. It's so multifactorial here. Like, people are in a lot of pain. You know what I mean? Which is how a lot of these hospital shootings happens, is people don't feel listened to, they don't feel heard. And then some people are just, a lot of that, there's mental health things under there, where maybe they are trying to numb their pain with pain medicine that then they're not getting. It's just a whole mess. And then people can't access healthcare, and then they become so angry. There's a lot of anger in healthcare from patients to providers, I've noticed, because we don't have the resources to adequately serve them. Inpatient people would get upset because we didn't have ratios to be able to properly take care of people. So there's just a lot of anger at healthcare people. And since we're the front line of it a lot as nurses, it comes back on us. So we need to fix that. And then I really do think we should train people better. I think as nurses and any healthcare providers, we should have, Nurse Scott. Yeah, true. In many urban ERs, we have metal detectors at the entrance. We should have that. None of my hospitals had that. I hope we see them in more hospitals, but this is not like rare. You know what I mean? That I wish these types of shootings were rare. I'm going to try to keep covering stuff like this just to try to like raise awareness and like bring attention to it. But a mess. And also, like, why don't we train Why don't we train people to start noticing signs of aggression and agitation and all of that more and more talk about this in nursing school? And maybe at your nursing school, they are talking about this more, but in mine, we didn't. I didn't learn any like self-defense thing, anything like that. Also, with the poll, 77% of people said that they would protect themselves first. So I'm not alone. So that makes me feel better. As much as I like, and then I feel bad. I'm like, well, I wish I was like a martyr. And I'm like, wait, no, I don't. Like, it's my job. I'm not going to work to try to have that happen to me. Um, Melissa, Julie says, we don't have such in my hospital. It really bothers me. The excuse they're giving is who is going to stand there and screen people. Well, I don't know, Jim, who is the leader of the hospital and making $3 million. Maybe we can hire someone to do that. I thought hospitals have better security in the front area. Not always, friend. Not always. We had in our adult hospital, literally you could walk in and walk up to any floor without ever interacting with a human. There was someone there if you were lost, but no other security. I think it's important to remember that many of us suffer with chronic pain, having struggled with it for years myself. And while it's super frustrating, that's not an excuse to hurt people. Very true. I just do want to acknowledge that I think one part that plays like into, just to not in any way excuse people. Obviously, there's no excuse for doing anything like this, but to point out that something we can do better in general is listen to people more. But obviously, it doesn't fix everything. That does not fix it in any way, shape, or form. Nurse Scott says there's some training management of assaultive behavior classes. I wish we had those. I would take that. And see, we had to take therapeutic communication, right, to learn how to de-escalate people with our words. I want to know what an angry person looks like. Why did I have to figure that out in person? Why did I have to realize, what it looks like on my own? Yikes. And Cordy, you're not ignorant. You just, how would you know? You know what I mean? That's why we're doing these chats, is to make the public aware of how things actually operate in the real world, so that people outside, I love having these conversations because people in healthcare can help contribute to them. But also I'm hoping that one day they reach more people and people outside of this will learn, so that the public can know, because the public is who is actually going to be able to make change. People do not know what is happening inside of hospitals. They do not know what staffing ratios are. They do not know. And how would they? This isn't their field. Hopefully they haven't visited a hospital. And if they have, like, they might have had a different experience. So the whole point of these is just to expand people's bubbles so that they can vote on mandated patient ratios, so that we can reform healthcare and hopefully get help, so that we can do things like make acquiring a firearm just a slightly longer process, right? Just like vet it a few more steps. I did want to show, I'm not saying like take everybody's guns away, friends. Like, I'm not saying that, because I know that will not work in this country. I know that will not work. But even if we did something like, this website was pretty good. Let me see if I can find it. Just making the process a little bit longer, making the public aware, making everyone aware of like, hey, maybe if we support things, this was a good website that I found, that seemed very, hey, we don't want to take them away. We just want to, moms demand action. We just want to make it slightly more difficult in order to acquire a firearm, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, just baby steps, friends, baby steps. That's what I think. And I'm hoping that we get from doing these videos. Nurse Scott said, I bet there are materials of the the self-defense type of thing if you or your colleagues want to do some self-study. And hey, a good QI project might be bringing certified MAB trainers to your unit. That's actually a really, 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 really good idea. If anyone needs a QI project, particularly for like a DNP or something, this would be a really good one. Like, let's teach self-defense and see if the number of incidents of actual violent things happening to nurses and healthcare staff does go down, because they could catch it earlier and realize the signs. I really like that. Let me see. Listen, Chat Murphy, I've seen you say, I know, I'm sorry that you're suffering with chronic back pain. That it is miserable. Listen, back pain isn't something to take lightly. I'm telling you, it's the most painful thing I've ever felt. And I've crashed my motorcycle 70 miles an hour and was stabbed in the neck. My friend, you've had quite the life. But yes, I completely agree. back pain is debilitating. And like I said, that's why I think listening to patients is so important because, in my experience, if I just listen to people, um, hopefully they will hear where I'm coming from. Like if they feel listened to, I can hopefully chat with them and they like we can feel mutually heard of like I'm not giving you this to like torture you, but there's going to be the people that just they're going to scream at you and threaten to bring a gun into your office. Stop selling automatic weapons. Yes, I've actually learned a lot about this, and we can have a chat a different time. I don't want this whole video to spiral into this, but a lot of the ones are like semi-automatic, which is used a lot, is not actually automatic. So they're like listed differently. I don't know. I've been trying to learn a little bit more about it to see what we could actually do. But the laws around guns are really, really weird. Let me see. Um, it always seems people feel violence is stylish anymore, so is hostility. Um, a myth. I agree. I think, and people just get so angry and they're so entitled. Um, that's what I've noticed a lot is that people just think like they need. It's like a I don't even know. Like they come into the healthcare office and they would like demand things, or when you were a nurse, they were like, why isn't this happening so fast? I'm like, your neighbor is literally dying, like literally dying. Can you please hold on? Like this is not a service industry. But they act like it is. And the healthcare field entirely acts like healthcare is a service industry because you get paid more. The hospital gets paid more if people give it good ratings and reviews. Like who in their right mind thought, you know what? In order for Medicare and Medicaid and other insurance companies to pay us, let's make like a happiness survey called the Press Ganey and give it to patients after. And then let's just not take any objective data. Okay. Let's just ask them, was your nurse quick enough? Was your pain proper? Was your pain controlled to an acceptable level that you think, which like pain control is very important, right? But like if people are expecting to get to zero and we know zero won't happen and then they rate it horribly, not good. How was the food is on those surveys. The Press Ganey is I have many arch nemesis. The Press Ganey is one of my arch nemesis because did you know that's how the hospitals get paid based on those surveys? And then if you're the nurse, then you get yelled at. If they're like, this person said you didn't answer the call light quick enough. And you're like, yeah, it's because I was in the next room coding their neighbor. And they're like, well, got to figure something else out. You should really look at that. The truth is people act out when their needs aren't met. Yes, that sums it up very well. We can only provide healthcare. They might also need food, affection, purpose, housing, security. It's a big problem. This sums it up, Nurse Scott. That's an excellent way to sum it up. And we are meeting people at the one intersect, like we're intersecting and they have all of this going on. So I think being able to serve people better is, you know what I mean? Like that's going to require all of this inclusivity in here. And then I see some stuff going on in the chat. Like I said, I can have a different conversation on it. I don't want to turn this thread because I've done this before and it gets ugly quickly. Let me see about like gun stuff, but we can have a whole different chat about that. This is educational though. Alicia said semi-automatic means one trigger, pull, one bullet. Auto is one trigger, pull, multiple bullets. Honestly, even if the military, we use semi-auto or 3-round burst, not so much automatic. That's what I was hearing. Was more of that, and that our language we use around it is wrong. So that's what I'm trying to educate myself on before I actually talk about it on the internet because I know nothing. I don't like those items. If I ruled the world and no one had an input, if it was a authoritarian regime, we would not have that problem. But I don't rule the world, and I guess I'll listen to other people's opinions. Let me see. Absolutely, Kathleen says absolutely. I think they think it's a 4-star hotel, not enough nurses, heavier workloads. I'm so glad I retired this year. Congratulations on your retirement. Chantal said, people also need to know we can advocate heavily for pain and orders, but at the end of the day, the doctor RNP decides dosages and frequencies of med. Yes, yes, yes. But nurses a lot of the times get the brunt of everything that is going on. And because you're the deliverer of the news, right? You're the one telling them, hey, you can't have that more pain medicine. Hey, you can't have this. So you get a lot of the brunt of that. I will say, as a nurse practitioner, you also get a lot of in like primary care in outpatient when you're the one like in the hospital, you have a nurse to kind of be the intermediary. In outpatient clinic world, you're the one telling them, no, I won't give you this. And that's usually when I've seen that most patients become violent. I've only had that one experience where I had a person come back with a gun. I've had other people say things, and then I usually exit the room and I just say, um, the way you're speaking to me right now is not okay. I'm going to give you a moment and then I'll come back. If you can't calm down, let's meet a different day, is usually the language I used. Most people would calm down and realize that they were just very, very stressed, frustrated, in pain, having anything like any socioeconomic like thing going on, that their needs weren't being met, like Nurse Scott said. Most people will then calm down, or at least they'll leave and they'll call back and they'll be like, hey, I really probably shouldn't have threatened to stab you with a knife. And you're like, yes, you should not. You can have a conversation of, will we be moving forward with this relationship or should we stop? But yes, all you can do is explain where you're coming from. Always, always, always try to explain things in a way that people feel heard. I have found that makes people less likely to hit me, at least as a nurse, because I did get hit a lot, which is not okay. And we talk about that more in that violence video. But making people feel heard does help a little bit. It does not eliminate everything, but it does help a little bit. My local hospital had a shooting incident years back, resulting in metal detectors and multi-step access to the ED and patient form. Reform through tragedy seems to be the typical response. And that is frustrating. Like, why are we so reactionary instead of being proactive, right? If, like, I've seen this myself, that the children's hospital that I worked in, where there were all the different checks, we heard of people coming back, but they never made it past the lobby. All the time. We're like, oh, so-and-so's parent. And we heard about it because they were like, oh, so-and-so's parent tried to come back and this is what happened, versus in adult land when they were like, oh, all the time. Active shooter in the building, go hide by the toilet. Like, all the time. And that's not okay. What is, QWERTY says, what would be a good nurse ratio? It totally depends on the unit. So in med surg, usually like 4 to 5 is ideal. Pretty much never happens, but in an ideal world, 4 to 5. In an ICU, 1 to 2. In a PCU or a progressive care unit, like a middle unit, it would be like 2 to 3. Labor and delivery, I don't even know. 1, 2? I don't really know. But imagine you can only have one patient at, like, you would only want to have one patient in like active labor at a time. In the emergency room, it would depend on if you're on the high acuity side. So like trauma, or low acuity, like ear infections. But again, that would be more like 4 to 5. So we are nowhere near that in most hospitals, especially non-unionized hospitals. Hospitals with a really strong union or with state regulations like California that limits your patient ratios have much better ratios. I worked at a hospital that had an excellent, really, really strong union because people were really involved with it and active. And that helped. We had mandated patient ratios. You literally couldn't have more than that. And we need to see more of that. So another thing we can all do is support legislation that implements safe patient ratios. People hit nurses all the time. I have been concussed at work because someone hit me with an IV pole. But I couldn't go home because so many other people were injured or had lacerations, like they're bleeding, that we couldn't all go to the ER because that would have been like half the floor. So I was the charge nurse. Had a really nice goose egg from where they hit me with the IV pole. Yeah, it was great. Yay. Got punched all the time, got hit, got kicked, got spit on. I had a patient fling feces into my eyeball, and I can no longer wear contacts because I got septal cellulitis, which is an infection that was trying to attack, like, in my eyeball, going back to my optic nerve, which lets you see. So I've got that. So I can't wear contacts because if you wear contacts, you're more likely to get pink eye. And if I ever get an infection in my left eye again, they said my likelihood of going blind is quite high. So yeah. Yeah, nursing is I wish we implemented things where where you didn't have to where you could learn to see the signs earlier. And yeah, maybe masks the spitter. I mean, once they spit on you, like you can't put a mask on them though. You know what I mean? Because then you'd have to restrain their hands. And in hospitals, we are very like you obviously don't want to restrain most people, and patients always get the benefit of the doubt, where they will say, oh well, they weren't well, so you literally have no ground to stand on. Even the one where the patient had gone around and like um, uh, hurt half of our unit. They were very aware of what they were doing, but they were able to get out of it because they said, oh, he was sick, he didn't know what he was doing. So it is, even though they put signs up all over like it's a felony to punch your nurse, they don't do anything about it. So yay. Spit hoods, yeah, they didn't let us use those because they were a restraint. um, yeah. These hospital systems, Sean said, these hospital systems don't care about staff safety. I worked on a psych unit with 14 psychotic and extremely violent patients with 2 people to help me. Well, that's terrifying. That just sounds, that's a lot. You need a lot more help with things like that. Where is hi friend Alyssa? She's my internet bestie. She has chickens. She's living the life I desire to live once I have a yard, except I can't have chickens legally. But I'm trying to think, if I put the chickens in the woods and technically you can't see them from the road, do the chickens even exist? Can I bribe the people who find out about the chickens with eggs? Will this work? We'll find out. Uh, we'll find out. Kathleen Kurtai said, just ask a physiotherapist, like a PT, who their main clients are. They're mostly nurses. I believe that. My back pain that I had from working med surge lasted for years and years and has required a lot of yoga and strength training to try to get my spine to do things. And it's still, there's some diskies there that are just not happy. Let me see. Oh, good. This is going back to our labor and delivery. 1-on-1 when they're in labor and 1-to-4 post delivery. Man, 1-on-1 in labor. Labor can last a really long time. So that's not bad. We used to. Okay, here's just some random inside scoop, and I know it's not probably true, but we used to call the people that would leave med surge or peds, and they would go to labor and delivery. Since I didn't know exactly what the ratios were, but I knew they were kind of cushy. Where you would go to your princess perch and you would sit there. That's what we called it, was your princess perches. I'm very glad for my princess perchers, who would sit there and watch. You would call it that because you'd sit on your little stool and like watch the lines while you were talking. But I'm very grateful for you. I could not do what you do. I would be the world's worst labor and delivery nurse in the entire world, because I would be like the nurse tough love, and people need a lot more kindness in those situations. And I was especially my first, when I had my oldest daughter, I had the best nurse, and she was just the most great, amazing human. But there's a little a little insight on a little bit of shade that we throw within the medical community. I appreciate what you do. I know you work very, very hard. I could never do what you do. Zach, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for all your insight. Thanks for listening to my rambles. I hope these are in some way helpful, that we feel like we're debriefing, that they're somewhat, I don't know, useful. I was like, I'm just going to get on the internet and chat about them. Alyssa's chickens have only been legal here for a handful of years. Well, they're beautiful. If you guys want to see Alyssa all day, she has chickens. They're mostly on her Instagram right now. They're highly adorable. They're growing. She has the cutest chicken coop. She's gardening. That is what I watch. My entire, you know how earlier I was saying like go watch something then. So I either go and watch murders, like true crime, or I will go to like farm talk, and I will just watch people have cameras in their birdhouses, and you can watch baby birds be born and just like hatch and watch the little birdies like come and feed their babies. Very soothing. Gardening talk, very soothing. Crochet, all of these things. Highly recommend. Brendan, who said Kate, thank you so much for the super chat. Got a princess perch doing telehealth. Yes. But that is, we always just laughed. I love that. I princess perch doing telehealth for a little while for my old job, and it was nice to not have to get screamed at to your face through the phone. You could just kind of like pull them away and hit mute and be like, okay, are you feeling better now? Okay, you got all your feelings out. Awesome. Cookie 13 Doodle, thanks. I love your picture. And thanks for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate you. You get to hear all of my ranty chats now, unfiltered, because you can say whatever you want when your video, you don't have to worry about monetization. We have to worry about monetization because got to pay my sister to keep my life going so that I can have my other job. I should probably just have one job, but that would be too easy. I really loved, Kathleen said, I really loved working in NICU. It was a joy with all the babies. The worst they did was spit or poop on you. Yes, there it's the parents. NICU is the one unit that I definitely wanted to work in and I actually got a job in. But the day I got the job was the day I found out that, or like the day I found out, was that when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, with Avery? Yeah. Yeah. The day I got that job. So I was in grad school. And then I found out I had gotten a job in the NICU because I was like, I want to be in the NICU for like 3 years, I think, because I would have 3 years left. And I was like, I'm going to transition over to the NICU because I've always wanted to work in it. The NICU, if you aren't sure, is the neonatal intensive care unit. That's the little babies. And but I decided I couldn't do having a baby and grad school at the same time. I needed my people that I loved on my unit where I was comfortable and I knew I had excellent humans there with me. So I stayed, but just a little side tangent that I always wanted to work in the NICU. And I appreciate that you were there for those babies and mostly those parents. But yes, the poop is so much smaller in peds. Having worked in med surg and then peds, everything is just so much more manageable. I remember people would be like, oh my gosh, this is a blowout. I'm like, you haven't seen what I've seen, have you? You have. If you've never seen a pool of excrement, you don't understand the word a blowout. um, my Alyssa said my PCU was getting 5 to 6 patients lately and they're doubling our rooms. That sounds awful. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I hope we can get some see if you can start a union. Just do it quietly. I don't know how to actually start a union, but maybe the internet will. Nurse Scott said, oh, and Liz, thank you for always saying you are enough and you can do hard things. I live for that. Oh, well, thank you. We'll say it now. Remember, everyone. We'll say it again at the end, but we'll say it now. You are enough. You are not alone. That's why we do these things. Everyone else feels just like you, even though you feel like you're the only one feeling it, and you can do hard things. And how do we know you can do hard things? Because you've already done so many hard things just to get to here. I promise. You can do hard things. We'll be okay. We're all going to get through this together. We're going to learn coping mechanisms and things to spot. Hopefully, we'll try to have one educational point in all of these little rants that we do. Who said, Kate, I love chickens. I can't keep chickens here in LA. Kate, can you maybe just plant some like you might have a very large bush that every now and then chirps. Do we think that that could be something we could go for? Like my woods. Just have them kind of come out of the woodwork. And you're like, oh, here we are. Yes, I do have to put diapers and clean up all kinds of poop. Yes. Well, yes. The poop is so much smaller though. It's so much smaller. And the NICU, oh man, I'll have to find it next time. I have, when I left my peds job, I kept the diapers because we would get, I worked cardio, like peds cards. And I worked, we got little tiny babies a lot that if you had a cardiac problem, you came to us versus the NICU. So we had like diapers that were like this big and we had all the blood pressure cups that were like so tiny. And I still have those. I'll have to do a chat where we show those because those were so cute. So cute. It was so nice though when you could just pick your patient up out of the poop and move them to the left and be like, I'm going to deal with this situation rather than be like, I don't know how to roll you in this. Cordy, it's a beautiful saying. Thank you. It's something that, so those 3 mantra things are something that I developed in the height of some serious anxiety and self-doubt. So they very much help me. So I try to help them with you. I want that as a sticker. The plan is I'm going to make that into a sticker. If there's anything else you guys want as stickers, I think I'm going to try to figure out, one, I'm going to try to make stickers like that. So if you're a channel member, you can post, I'm working on it. I'm scattered. My ADHD has like 12 different paths in my mind and I need to focus on one of them, but we're going to have chat stickers for like things like that. And also I'm hoping to have like an actual sticker at some point and maybe like shirts, some kind of merch with something like that on it. Because I really enjoy that saying. If you have anything that you would, I'm trying to decide what I would want because I don't want it to be like junky merch, but then it makes it hard to decide what I would want to have because you can't have like a ton of things. So like cups, shirts, stickers, water bottles. I was going to say nail art. No one wants it on their nails. I don't even know how you would make that work. It just came into my mind. Chat Murphy, thank you so much for the super chat. And oh, I've been in tears crawling across the floor and all I get is PT. And that makes it worse. And pain meds, our system is so broken. It is incredibly broken. I am so incredibly sorry that you are dealing with that. If your hospital or your healthcare system has a patient advocacy center, please call that. Most healthcare places do, or if your insurance has it, and call them and say that you need a patient advocate. And that can sometimes open doors to having different conversations about different ways to get pain medicine, different avenues to get hurt a little bit more, getting involved in pain management and something where you can be taken a little bit more seriously. I'm really sorry that you're dealing with that. That is absolutely miserable. Sean, thank you for the super chat. You guys are being so like I usually get like one super chat and I'm like thrilled. And I've gotten so many today. I'm super appreciative. Thank you. Sean said, I love your rambles. Glad to know we're not alone and to have someone who is helping to bring the plight to so many care workers to light. Of course. Thank you so much for being here. Honestly, you guys just like showing up and listening helps YouTube send it out to more people. I feel like I'm joined in my fight of all my feelings because I'm at a point in my healthcare career where I just have so many pent up feelings and I don't know where to send them. So I figured the best thing I can do is just try to talk about it and make the public aware so that the public can put pressure on the healthcare systems because the public doesn't care. The healthcare systems don't care if the healthcare workers are unhappy, right? The healthcare systems are going to feel pressure from the public. And so I'm trying to get the message out to, using all of our voices and sharing your experiences to get the message out that like things need to change because hospitals spend a lot of money keeping the message in. So, that's what I'm doing here. And I'm grateful for everyone who comes and listens and offers their insight and their own advice of how to avoid these things in the future. And yeah, everything like that. So thank you for being here. I really, truly do appreciate it. Who said, Kate, I still have one itty bitty diaper for my 21-year-old daughter who was once a healthy 4-pounder. Oh my goodness. I'm thrilled that she's so happy or she's healthy. I hope she's happy. I have diapers from my babies were not 4 pounds. But I have diapers. I kept newborn diapers just so that I can always remember your butt was once this small, which might be weird, but now I tell them and they're like, I don't care. Nurse Scott said, I think this is for Chat Murphy or a case manager. Yes. Be the squeaky wheel. Be the squeaky wheel. Nurse Liz, all I need is a disc replacement and all insurance wants to cover is pain meds, and that's not the fix. This is a huge problem. Insurance, I'm really sorry. So insurance, this happens all the time, which is horrifying. Insurance wants to put a Band-Aid on things, and then they just want to cover pain meds. And that fuels our already huge problem of the opioid pandemic, right? That just, I'm like, what on earth are we doing? Why it would save so much more money and time and life if we just did this in the beginning, you know what I mean? Like fix the problem rather than letting it get so far. And I'm really, really, really sorry that you're dealing with that. Let me see. The Kathleen Kurtai, the thing that I have found that helped me since retiring, especially is in enlightenment, meditation, and getting into nature to elevate my positive energy. So this is, I think, in reaction to me not having an idea what to do with my insane, frustrated feelings. And I appreciate that. I have recently just started exercising again. I really left that for a long time because I was in a pretty bad funk and I was just like so angry and I didn't know what to do with my life. So I've started exercising, trying to be outside more. And now that it's summer here, it's much easier. You want to see something fun? I do wear sunscreen, I swear, but look at that. Signs of summer. I've been out going on lots of walks with the kids. We have a really nice creek by our house that I'm trying to get out in. And it is amazing what a little bit of sunshine can do for you. A mosquito bit me. It's kind of like gross looking, but I'll show you anyway. A mosquito bit me like right under my watch. And I was like, ooh, Why? Um, Cook 13 Doodle. Thanks. Rachel, we should make. Did you volunteer to be a mod already? I'm going to volunteer you to be a mod. Smash the like and remind YouTube algorithm how awesome we are. Yes, please do that. It makes liking videos makes the YouTube gods happy. It tells people that you enjoy it and sends it out to the world. Also, if you want to be a mod, welcome. We're accepting any and all help. Any and all help. Um, yeah, I Chatmer said jump the payment. That is I've had a lot of people very helped by that. I am very pro that and think we need to do like get some more research money into that so that we can use it more officially. All about that. Um Let me see. I'm probably going to head out just so you guys know in 5 minutes because that is when my nanny leaves. So I have to go be a parent. But I really appreciate you guys just wanting to chill and hang out and chat. I'm thinking that maybe tomorrow, if my children nap, what was it I was going to try to cover tomorrow? I'm just becoming the news. Essentially, I've decided I'm just going to cover healthcare news. Hope you're all down for that. Just to cover things and have conversations about them. From a healthcare perspective of like what's actually going on because there's a lot of weird information out there where you're like, huh, this is interesting. um, you're right, Cook 13 Doodle. Insurance companies are not our friends. Insurance companies are why I left my nurse practitioner job and will probably not go back unless I can work in a free clinic. But free clinic um, doesn't pay you a lot of money, and I'm told my husband tells me I need to make money because I spend a lot of money. So one day, one day, but yeah, insurance doesn't. They decide what you can, what you can't do, what your treatment plans are. It's a whole mess. Um, Let me see. I think it was nice to catch you on a live. I found you through Legal Bites. Oh, well, thank you. So Legal Bites is awesome. I was on her stream for, I would pop in and give my random healthcare fun facts to a lot of people who did not appreciate them about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. About, because that's a whole mess. I have a few videos on that if you're interested, how they butchered mental health like no other. I have big, strong feelings. Is there a schedule for these live chats? I wish. I think the problem. My sister, who helps me run my life, would wish there was a live schedule right now. If you sign up with the notifications, like the little bell, you should get notified. I do try to announce them on Instagram. Try to do a better job about announcing them beforehand on YouTube. But no, that's the answer. Usually they're around 3 p.m. And it's on whatever is kind of going on at the moment. So I'm hoping to do like a couple a week because I think they're kind of fun and a good way to discuss what's happening in the healthcare world. We'll see if people like them because if, you know, we need people to like them, but I think they're fun. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, for right now, I'm trying out different things. Like I said, I have a lot of angsty feelings in my soul, and I would love to see healthcare be reformed. I just don't know how to do it, so just gonna come on here. The healthcare Philip DeFranco. Guys, can I be really honest? I don't know who Philip DeFranco is. I probably should. I'm just gonna laugh and pretend it's a compliment. Should I? Is that the is that the approach that I should have? Um, well, here's my sister. My sister would let me. The live schedule is this week of nothing, and then maniacally doing lives as interesting, maddening, or concerning topics come up. That is essentially me. So I have found that to be very blunt, my mental health is very cyclical. So I will have a week or two of wanting to do absolutely nothing where I'm like, I don't want to show my face on the internet. And then the rage kick. And then I'm like, oh, like I'm all angry again. I'll reinsert myself into life. And then I will go like 2 weeks of like doing what I'm in my phase now. It's not like manic. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe I need more mental health diagnoses, but I go in cycles. As I'm talking, I'm like, am I bipolar? Do I have bipolar? Like depression? Like, is that what this is? It really might be. I can't afford to see I can't find a psychiatrist with my current insurance because I probably do need a new diagnosis. Different topic for a different day. But my insurance that I got through the marketplace won't there's no psychiatrist in my network in my area, and there's no pediatrician. So my kids don't have pediatricians because they both have mild to moderate healthcare needs, like, or at least diagnoses that look scarier than they are, in my opinion. So they have to go to a pediatrician because the only family medicine says no, they won't take them. But the pediatricians in our area, they aren't accepting patients. So I literally called my insurance. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, my children need a pediatrician and they can't get one. I need mental health and I can't get it. And then Joe, my husband, did a really, really good job and got a new job that has better insurance. So I was like, thank you. Thanks for looking out. Yes, Cook 13. It is the marketplace. The marketplace, and we pay $1,500 a month for insurance we literally can't use. Tried to go to the dentist, same thing. They were like, oh, we pick your dentist. And then I was like, well, what dentist did you pick? And then they gave us the name. And then I called them. They're like, we're not accepting new patients. I'm like, but you're the only place my insurance covers. They were like, well, so um, that's where we are. Can't find a vet for my dog because they're not accepting patients. I'm like, what is happening here? Okay. All right, friends, I have to go take care of my small children. I am very, very grateful and appreciative of all of you being here today. Thank you for all your super generous super chats and just like commentary. It's so fun to like chat with you. I hope we get to do more of these, and that I'm really weird about my after like side tangent after talking about, I'm like, oh man, cyclical. I'm like, if I was my patient, I would definitely be having different thoughts. Anyway, I'm gonna go ponder the state of my mental health. Since I'm apparently in a perhaps mild manic, what is that? Submanic? No, it has a different name. Lehigh County Vets. Okay, that's kind of super not close to me, but I would be willing to go to there. That's by my sister's house, actually. Not to out where my sister lives. Yes, and thank you so much to all the channel members, the super chats, and the awesome discussion. I super appreciate you. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow with more healthcare news. I hope it's not as depressing as today. Maybe I'm going to try to scour the internet for something good. Maybe something good happened in the healthcare world and we can learn from that. Please do remember that you are enough. You are not alone, and you can do hard things. Until next time, friends. Bye. Let's see if I can find my end screen. Here we go.